The Denver Post joined more than 200 other news organizations across the country on Thursday decrying President Trump's attack on journalists. The Post states that there is no political filter or agenda behind its stories, just a desire to inform the public. The U.S. Senate unanimously passed a resolution the same day stating the press is not the enemy of the people. As an editor of a great news site yourself, Susan, your thoughts on what happened this week?
Yeah, it was something like 400 publications. The Colorado Independent, which I run, was among them. I did an editorial as well. What I think is, yes, journalists don't take political, partisan views and express them publicly, right? But what we do is rally for the First Amendment and rally for freedom of the press. So for anyone to deride newspapers for standing up and speaking out for this most fundamental right at a time when we are under siege by a president who calls us sick and dangerous, enemies of the people, and at a time when the economic forces and financial models of traditional newspapers are withering is insane. My column was not about Trump, it was about the ways that free press are being limited in Colorado. And I spoke about two instances that have happened at the Colorado Independent over the past couple months. One was I was handcuffed last month by a Denver policeman for taking a photo of police doing their work on a public sidewalk on Colfax, and we've heard nothing about 6 weeks later from the city about what, if anything, it's planning to do about that, or if even has a problem with that. Number two, I also spoke of the Independent's efforts right now to petition the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case of a documents fight we've been having over a death penalty case in Colorado. The state Supreme Court ruled in a stunning ruling in June that there are no First Amendment rights. There's no presumptive public access to court documents in the state. That makes Colorado the only state in the country that doesn't have that right.
Ross, are we headed towards a general public that will say the press is unbiased, or the fact that the press is only unbiased if I agree with them?
Wow. So I think the press generally hasn't done their jobs tremendously well during the Trump presidency, but I also think Donald Trump has gone way too far talking about the press as the enemy of the people. He's wrong about that. I thought Susan's editorial was excellent, and I don't think there's much more I need to say. The press is not the enemy of the people. And I'll say one more thing. A free press is much more important to the United States of America than any particular president.
Patty, you are our other esteemed editor at the table. Your thoughts on this nationwide effort?
I think it's great, but let's remember, this is nothing new. Go back to the Watergate days. Back to the prior restraint on the Pentagon Papers. Go back to John Mitchell, who was saying something I'm not even sure I can say on public television regarding what would happen if the Washington Post published certain documents. So the press has always had to fight, and it should continue fighting. And in some ways, having Trump's inane attacks by Twitter has energized the press in new ways, and let's hope it's energized the press to do the best job possible in certainly in circumstances far worse than we had back in the early 70s financially.
David, wrap it up for us.
Trump's rhetoric is despicable, and one of the things wrong with it is an overgeneralization. It's like when Elizabeth Warren says that all law enforcement is racist. There are some racist people in law enforcement, and there are some very bad, dishonest journalists in journalism, but it's wrong to say that everybody in that field is wrong. The Post claiming that there's no political filter has about the same level of self-awareness or less of SpongeBob SquarePants. There are some reporters, past and present, at the Post who are really good and solid, and there have been plenty others there, including today, who absolutely run their stories with a political filter. I wish the press were more vigilant about not only rhetoric against it, but actually actions. Here's the 43-page report from the Committee to Protect Journalists, which came out in 2013, detailing the Obama administration's unprecedented actual attacks, not rhetoric, but real attacks on journalism, including illegal surveillance. They broke into Cheryl Atkinson's computer. She was the CBS reporter who exposed the Fast and Furious cover-up, and that cover-up continues.